This cup is probably in your hand right now, and what they've been hiding from you is shocking, and it could be putting you at serious risk.
Where does Tim Hortons get all of their ideas, their creative ideas when it comes to, new beverages and new donuts and new pastries and anything on their menu?
You've probably grabbed a coffee, a muffin, or one of their famous Timbits without a second thought. But what if I told you that the food you're munching on is actually banned in the US and Europe for its dangerous health risks? And here's the kicker. It's not just any food. It's something you and your loved ones might be eating on the regular. That's right, seniors. You're probably the ones most at risk, and Tim Hortons isn't doing anything to stop it. This isn't a conspiracy theory or a baseless rumor. We're talking about something scientifically proven to be harmful, and yet Tim Hortons continues to serve it in their stores across Canada. Why is it allowed? Why hasn't it been pulled from the shelves? And more importantly, what does this mean for your health? Especially if you're a senior who loves to grab that afternoon snack, you won't believe the answer. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll think twice before stepping into a Tim Hortons again. The controversial ingredient, partially hydrogenated oils. Now, let's get straight to it. If you've ever indulged in a Tim Hortons donut or muffin, chances are you've consumed something that is widely banned in the United States. The ingredient in question? Partially hydrogenated oils. A term that might not mean much to you, but trust me, it should. This ingredient has been at the center of countless health warnings over the past few decades, and yet it's still in many of Tim Hortons' baked goods. Why is this such a big deal? Well, partially hydrogenated oils are the main source of trans fats, which have been scientifically linked to an increased risk of heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. In fact, the US Food and Drug Administration, FDA, made it official in 2015. They banned the use of partially hydrogenated oils in food products due to the overwhelming evidence of their negative effects on health. So how is it that Tim Hortons, which operates in Canada and the US, can still use this ingredient in their products? The answer lies in the difference in food regulations between the two countries. And that's where things get even more interesting. Why is Tim Hortons still using it? You're probably wondering, if this ingredient is so harmful, why is Tim Hortons still using it? Well, the answer isn't simple, but it's something you're going to want to hear. The reality is that food regulations vary significantly between Canada and the US. In the US, the FDA's 2015 ban was a game changer, and manufacturers quickly had to reformulate products to get rid of partially hydrogenated oils. However, in Canada, the rules aren't as strict. Health Canada hasn't fully banned the ingredient yet, and as a result, Tim Hortons has continued to use it in many of their baked goods. But let's be real here. Tim Hortons isn't some small independent cafe. It's one of Canada's largest and most well-known fast food chains. So why would they choose to use a cheap, unhealthy ingredient when they could easily make their products safer and healthier by switching to alternatives? That's where things get a little murky. Some experts believe that Tim Hortons may be sticking with partially hydrogenated oils because it's cheaper and easier to maintain the consistency of their products. But this convenience comes at a huge cost: your health. So what's really at stake here? If you're a regular Tim Hortons customer, especially if you're older, you need to be aware of what's in your food. You might think you're making a healthy choice by grabbing a light muffin or a fresh bagel, but in reality, you could be setting yourself up for serious health problems down the line. Seniors at greater risk. Why you should be concerned. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter. Why should seniors be especially worried? The simple answer is that older adults are far more susceptible to the harmful effects of trans fats. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at processing unhealthy fats, and the risks associated with them, such as heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, only increase. So, when you're reaching for that Tim Hortons treat, think about how it might be impacting your long-term health. And if you're a senior, this could be even more dangerous. Imagine this: you grab a coffee and a blueberry muffin from Tim Hortons for breakfast, and by the time you're done, you've consumed a significant amount of trans fats. It might not feel like a big deal at the moment, but over time, that daily intake can add up. The consequences? Increased cholesterol levels, higher blood pressure, and an overall greater risk of heart disease. Trans fats contribute to the buildup of plaque in your arteries, which can lead to atherosclerosis, a condition where the arteries harden and narrow, reducing blood flow to vital organs, including the heart. For seniors, this can be especially dangerous, but the risks don't stop there. Trans fats also have a direct impact on your blood sugar levels, and for seniors who who are already at a higher risk for developing type 2 diabetes, consuming foods high in trans fats can be a ticking time bomb. According to research, consuming just 2% of your total daily calories from trans fats can increase the risk of heart disease by 23%. So imagine how much damage a steady diet of Tim Hortons pastries could do over the years. The heart of the matter, what Tim Hortons isn't telling you. You might be wondering, how could a company as reputable as Tim Hortons get away with this? The sad truth is that the company is fully aware of the health risks associated with partially hydrogenated oils, but the choice to continue using them might be driven more by profit than concern for your well-being. Sure, Tim Hortons has been making some changes over the years, reducing sugar content, switching to cage-free eggs, and promoting healthier alternatives. But when it comes to trans fats, they've been slow to act. And here's the kicker. There are healthier alternatives out there. The technology and ingredients to make low trans fat products are available. Major fast food chains in the US have already made the switch. So why isn't Tim Hortons following suit? Some experts argue that it comes down to the bottom line. Tim Hortons may be choosing to stick with partially hydrogenated oils because they're cheaper and allow the company to maintain the flavor, texture, and shelf life of their products. But is that really worth the risk? Unfortunately, this isn't just a minor issue. When a major food chain like Tim Hortons continues to serve food containing harmful ingredients despite the health risks, it shows a complete disregard for the well-being of its customers, especially the most vulnerable ones. The health implications you need to know. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. What exactly happens when you consume too much trans fat? Let's break it down. First off, trans fats raise your bad cholesterol levels, LDL, while lowering your good cholesterol, HDL. This imbalance can increase your risk of developing heart disease as well as raise your blood pressure. But the impact goes beyond just cholesterol. Research has shown that trans fats can increase inflammation in the body, which contributes to a number of chronic conditions, including arthritis and even Alzheimer's disease. For seniors, this means that regular consumption of trans fats can have far-reaching effects on not only their heart health, but their overall quality of life. And here's something that might really hit home. Trans fats have been linked to a higher risk of stroke as well. A study from the Harvard School of Public Health found that replacing trans fats with healthier fats can lower your risk of stroke by 12%. So every time you grab a Tim Hortons muffin or donut, you could be unknowingly putting yourself at risk for something far more serious than just a sugar rush. But wait, there's more. Trans fats are also linked to obesity. They're the kind of fats that get stored in your body and contribute to the accumulation of belly fat, which increases your risk of metabolic diseases like type 2 diabetes and certain cancers. This isn't just about having a little extra weight. It's about long-term health risks that could affect you in ways you don't even realize. It's time to ask yourself, are you willing to keep consuming these dangerous foods just because they're convenient and tasty? Because the reality is that you might be jeopardizing your health without even knowing it. Why Tim Hortons won't change anytime soon? Now that you know how harmful partially hydrogenated oils are, let's explore why Tim Hortons has yet to make meaningful changes, despite the mounting evidence and growing public concern. After all, you'd think that a company with such a massive following would be doing everything it can to protect its customers. But that's not the case here, and there's a reason for that. At the heart of the issue is money. Tim Hortons is a global brand with millions of loyal customers. Changing recipes, especially in a way that could affect taste, texture, and shelf life, comes with serious financial consequences. Reformulating products to remove trans fats isn't a cheap fix. It requires investment in new ingredients, new supply chains, and sometimes even new production processes. But here's the catch. Tim Hortons could easily afford it. They're one of the largest fast food chains in the world, with revenues in the billions. The truth is, making the switch to healthier alternatives might hurt their bottom line in the short term. Trans fats are cheap, and replacing them with healthier oils like olive or canola oil would cost more. But at what cost to their customers' health? A company this big should be leading the charge in food safety, not sticking with harmful practices to cut costs. Yet time and time again, they choose to prioritize profit over your well-being. To make matters worse, Tim Hortons isn't just ignoring the health risks of trans fats. They're also downplaying their role in the issue. When questions are raised about the use of partially hydrogenated oils, the company often responds with vague statements, making it seem like they're committed to offering healthier choices. But actions speak louder than words. They continue to sell items that contain these harmful fats without any real pressure to reformulate, mainly because the regulatory environment in Canada isn't as strict as it is in the US. The Canadian government has made some moves to limit trans fats in food, but the process has been slow. While some food products have been forced to remove trans fats, the change has been incremental at best. So while the US has taken decisive action, Canada remains behind the curve, leaving Tim Hortons free to continue selling these potentially dangerous products. A history of ignoring health concerns. But this isn't the first time Tim Hortons has faced backlash for its food practices. In fact, the company has a long history of ignoring health concerns and pushing out products that are less than ideal for their customers. One of the most notorious incidents occurred back in 2006 when Tim Hortons was caught using artificial trans fats in their products without disclosing it on their labels. Customers were shocked to learn that their favorite donuts, muffins, and other treats were packed with harmful fats that were already banned in other countries. Tim Hortons was quick to claim they were working on removing trans fats, but this was just the beginning of a pattern of reactive rather than proactive behavior. Fast forward to today, and the company is still grappling with these same issues. While some products have been improved, there is still no consistent effort to fully eliminate trans fats across the menu. Instead, they seem content to continue serving items that contain ingredients that have been banned or restricted elsewhere, hoping that their loyal customers won't notice. This lack of accountability is a major problem. As consumers, we trust brands like Tim Hortons to provide food that is safe, healthy, and up to date with the latest health standards. But when a company chooses to continue using harmful ingredients because it's more profitable, it undermines that trust. It's not just about making a quick buck, it's about the long-term health of their customers, and that should be the priority. The growing pressure for change. As awareness of the dangers of trans fats continues to grow, the pressure on Tim Hortons to change is only increasing. Health experts and consumer advocacy groups have long been calling for a ban on partially hydrogenated oils, and the growing body of research linking trans fats to heart disease, stroke, and diabetes has made it clear that these ingredients have no place in our food. In fact, some countries have already implemented strict laws against the use of trans fats. Denmark was the first country to take action, completely banning partially hydrogenated oils in 2004. Since then, other nations, including the US, have followed suit, with the FDA officially declaring trans fats a health risk in 2015. But in Canada, the fight against trans fats has been much slower, leaving Tim Hortons with little incentive to change. But the pressure is mounting. More and more consumers are becoming aware of the health risks posed by these ingredients, and they're demanding healthier alternatives. Many fast food chains have already made the switch to healthier oils, and Tim Hortons is beginning to feel the heat. The question is, will they act before it's too late, or will they continue to drag their feet and risk losing their loyal customer base? The impact on Canadians. Why you should care. It's not just about Tim Hortons' global reputation, it's about you. As a consumer, you deserve to know what's in your food, and you have a right to demand better. Trans fats are a serious health threat, and you shouldn't have to gamble with your health every time you stop for a snack. If you've been consuming Tim Hortons' baked goods regularly, you need to take a step back and assess what that could mean for your long-term health. But it's not just the food that's at risk, it's the culture of convenience. Fast food chains like Tim Hortons have built their business around making food quick, easy, and cheap. But in doing so, they've compromised on quality. The convenience of grabbing a muffin or sandwich from Tim Hortons shouldn't come at the expense of your health. And if you're a senior, the stakes are even higher. You need to be particularly cautious about what you're putting in your body, as the risks of heart disease, stroke, and diabetes are more pronounced in older adults. The good news is that there are alternatives. While Tim Hortons continues to use partially hydrogenated oils, other companies are leading the way in offering healthier, trans, fat-free options. There are plenty of places where you can get fresh, wholesome food without worrying about hidden dangers in your meal. If you're serious about protecting your health, it might be time to consider these alternatives and leave Tim Hortons behind. The bottom line, what you need to know. So here's the bottom line. Tim Hortons is still serving food that contains partially hydrogenated oils, even though these oils have been banned in many countries, including the United States, due to their serious health risks. While some other fast food chains have already removed trans fats from their menu items, Tim Hortons has been slow to act. For seniors, this is particularly concerning. The harmful effects of trans fats, including heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, are more pronounced in older adults, so it's important to be aware of the risks. If you're a regular Tim Hortons customer, especially if you're over 50, it's time to reconsider whether these quick snacks are really worth the risk. What can you do? Now that you know the truth, it's time to make an informed decision. You have the power to choose what you put into your body, and with that knowledge comes the responsibility to make healthier choices. If you want to protect your health and the health of your loved ones, it might be time to skip that Tim Hortons muffin and find a safer, healthier alternative. Don't let convenience cloud your judgment. Choose foods that are free from harmful ingredients like trans fats, and demand better from the brands you trust. It's time to take a stand and make your voice heard. Have you been eating at Tim Hortons without realizing the risks? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you noticed anything unusual about their food or ingredients? We'd love to hear your experiences. If you've learned something new from this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more eye-opening content like this. And share this video with your friends, especially those who might be at risk, like seniors. Trust us, it could save them from some serious health issues down the line. Stay informed, stay healthy, and keep asking the hard questions. Until next time.